Yeah, yeah.
We're going to transition now to the second topic. This is, we always do a topic about the Deen or
We have
Islam
to,
as
man.
well.
It's natural.
Always have to, right? So, Islam is transforming O Block, one person at a time.
Yeah.
Now, Rip Wright on YouTube, very inspirational. Even though I haven't lost the weight that I wanted to lose, this guy's always doing calisthenics, hood workouts, as we call them, all over the world, right? But he's also an intellectual, guy. And
He
he
was
goes and travels to places around
he was in Dubai
the
a couple days
world.
ago, eh?
What do you say?
I said he was in Dubai a couple of days ago.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, I think actually sorry, a couple weeks ago he was in Dubai. I
Co-
because
Oh,
I follow him
okay.
too, but I follow him too.
Oh,
So
you do?
he was
Okay.
yeah, he was in Dubai like doing workouts and stuff like that.
Man, next time, I hope he hears this. Next time, I'd love for him to come to Doha and link up with him because I do think he's really inspirational and love to see his channel grow. And he's an entrepreneur as well. His products are
Yeah, yeah,
being
yeah.
purchased all over the world. And he
Mashallah.
goes to different places in different hoods, right, in the U.S. And I say hoods for anybody who's not for the urban vernacular, just neighborhoods, right, just different places in the U.S. And he was in Chicago. He was talking to different people in the community, a young man who was in the gangs who actually converted to Islam, and then also some of the imams. He took an imam, I think, from Philly or Jersey with him, and there was other imams in the community that live amongst the O Block. And it was interesting to see how the young man said that, these were my ops before and people that we used to, go, war with and things like that. And then now I'm forced to see them as a same brother, a Muslim, a Aki, just like me. And it's changing the way that I look at someone else. And I think it's also having a profound effect on how others look at, ops who are converting to Islam. If I'm not mistaken, Little Durk is Muslim.
Yeah.
There's some other prominent rappers who have become Muslim. There's other artists who have become Muslim recently as well. I think NLE Choppa. I think Little Durk. There's a lot of others. I think the boxer Javante Davis as well. There's a lot of Muslims, alhamdulillah,
Devin
that are
Haley.
reverting. Yeah, reverting. So, what do you think, AB, about how Islam is taking over and actually overcoming some of the gang culture tensions that are happening in arguably one of the worst neighborhoods when it comes to violence in O Block in Chicago?
Yeah, so I think first of all it's beautiful. I think it's number one, it's beautiful.
Yes, yes.
For those who don't know,
Allahu Akbar.
O Block is in Chicago, aka Chirac, and
Chirac.
a little history behind the name Chirac. So I remember this. I remember this because when was the Iraq War happen? What 2008? It was 08, right?
I'm not sure, my brother. I'm not even sure.
Anyways, I
Yeah.
remember this very vividly. I forgot the year, but was when America was still in Iraq, and then that was the Bush era, and the Secretary of State comes out, and they were just giving out he's just talking about the dangerous parts of America, and at one point he mentioned this like alarming stat, and he said that like there's more crime and murder happening in Chicago O Block area, that area,
Mm,
uh, than in Iraq. And then they coined the name Chirac for that name. And
I
then
never knew that.
people, bro. So, but
Wow.
people have to deep it. America was in a war in a foreign country, and a city in the Midwest in their own country
A
was
section of the
have
city, AB. A
a
section,
section, yeah,
not the whole
Southside
city. A
Chicago,
section.
Southside Chicago,
Right.
man. And people need to like deep the numbers, because imagine how much death has to happen where you're more than an entire war happening in a foreign region. But that being said, number one, Allah always works in mysterious ways. He is the
Mm-hmm.
best of he is the best of planners. Uh, and what we saw as a bad thing as humans, subhanallah, over now, how many years has it been? 15, whatever years,
Mm-hmm.
how many years it is, and look at the beauty of what's coming out of it. So we as humans were so narrow-minded and short-sighted that we didn't see the bigger picture. Okay, where one of the most dangerous areas in America and possibly the world too, is now blossoming into a Muslim Islam, and all this positive, positive vibes that has been going on, and I think it's beautiful, man. I think like it's amazing how Islam is a flower that always blooms in places where there is hardships, places where there's adversary, and
A rose from the concrete, you know?
it arose from the concrete, exactly.
Hmm.
And the crazy thing is, once that flower blooms, an entire forest follows through.
Mm.
So it's expanding at a massive rate, and it shows you no matter what anybody does, like if Allah wants Islam to happen, it's gonna happen regardless. Like I told you that one verse in the Quran. When Allah tells he goes, if you don't follow, don't worry, there will be 100 after you that will take this religion, and they will love it,
Mm.
and they will pray to me, and they will follow me till the day of Qiyamah. Like, so Allah doesn't need you, it's us that need him, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
these
yes.
people, so no matter what, like we think that we are the earth is around us and we are the center of everything. No, we are not. We are the least common denominator in every possible equation. In every
Yeah,
possible equation. Like Allah doesn't,
yeah.
like we are the ones that need him at all times in every aspect. Uh Big or small, doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
don't get it twisted. We need the
don't get it
source.
twisted. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
He
not
is the
surprised.
source. We need the source. You know what
I'm
I
not.
mean?
I'm not surprised, bro. I'm not surprised
Yep.
at all. I'm not
Hmm.
surprised, and it's beautiful because what's it called? Uh, there was a story in the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, right?
Hmm.
And this shows you just a. Let me give you a little bit of what do you call it? Connection, right?
Break it down.
So in the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a treaty. Uh, and the Treaty of Tabuk, right? So that's what Tabuk, right? So this was a treaty where when the Prophet was in Medina, he did a treaty with the people in Mecca. So
Hmm.
the people of Quraysh. And
Right.
this treaty was stacked in a way where the Muslims were losing. Like the clauses they were adding, all these things, but yet the Prophet still went along with it, right? The Prophet ﷺ still went along with it, and he signed it, right? And if you read the treaty, every clause was against the Muslims. Like it was like it was a bad bet, basically. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah.
And the Prophet had so much faith in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, obviously, as he should, because he's the Prophet ﷺ and Allah is the Creator.
Hmm.
However, but the most blessing time in that time frame of that treaty, the most non-Muslims converted into the religion at that time period.
Subhanallah.
So what
Hmm.
was supposed to be uh like like I said, to us humans, it looks like a bad thing, but
Hmm.
Allah has the greatest vision that ever can be envisioned.
Hmm.
Because he is Allah. So what was supposed to be them winning, they didn't win. So
Right.
the most Muslims converted in that area, sorry, in that time frame, during that time period, and it shows you now the same thing. Now, how does that work with here? These guys, now what you think of the hood, you think of these young kids,
Hmm.
you think of gang bangs, you think of what's it called, kids selling food on the side, all these things, boom, boom, boom. And then now look, right now Islam is spreading in an area where it should have never been spread before. But yet, and the crazy thing is, I've come to realize now, actually, not I'm older, people who accept the religion, and this is probably my take. Okay, this is my take. This is my opinion.
Right.
But
Right.
typically people, and not always, but what I've seen is that people who seek out the religion, they seek it out. They are before non-believers, and then they become believers. They are practicing the hardest, going the hardest, and showing their religion in the highest aspect level. Doesn't mean that people who are born into religion don't show that, but I'm saying
Hmm.
typically people who are born into religion, it takes a delayed time to do those things, because they think that the deen is for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
And it's a mindset thing. So to foster those kind of emotions and energy, it takes time. You have to go through adversity. You have to see, because you were born into it, so you don't really see the golden
Mm-hmm.
egg that you were given. However,
Yes.
if you were never given that golden egg and you seek that golden egg, then now you've put that golden egg in a glass cabinet, and you're like at all times protecting your deen, like, and you're showcasing it,
Yes.
and you're like, I am Muslim and I stand for this, and I don't do this and I don't do that, and so it means more to you because
Yes.
because because you know life before you're a Muslim. So now that you found the truth, you protect the truth, you know?
But AB, one of the things that is interesting is that, from a Black American perspective, I remember people when I first reverted to Islam, they asked me, "Oh, did you go to jail?" And I
Yeah.
used to get mad, like, "What are they talking about?" But they usually hear a lot of the stories of reversion of Black Americans in jail while being incarcerated.
Facts.
And so either it's like you were a gangbanger or you were doing some nefarious activity, you landed in jail, you got a chance to read the Quran and some other Muslims were there as well, or they offered you protection. And therefore, when you came out, you were a Muslim. And I
Mm,
said to them, no, I made my own choice. I don't have a record at all, a criminal record. I don't have any tattoos, never gangbanged. I've never been a part of any nefarious activities. It's just who I am and the choice I made and the research that I did. And so sometimes people don't understand kind of where actually an American can revert. Because even when I was performing Umrah, it was like it was a shock that an American was a revert.
yeah.
But in other circles, when you also break it down as a Black American, it's also a story of incarceration sometimes when people ask you. And I don't get upset with that or anything like that. But it's also, we all have our own paths, no matter how we get there.
Correct.
As I told you before, if I took you back to my high school, none of the people there would have probably thought I was Muslim or going to be Muslim, except for maybe one or two people
Yeah,
who knew
man.
me. Other than that, you didn't think I was going to be the next person. So I'm really happy for Oblak. I really hope that this is really in their hearts. And,
I mean,
obviously Allah knows best. And that, they get this resource that they need. Because it's a decision, but they also need a community behind them to feel supported in their
yeah,
decision, right? And when
yeah.
things get hard, they have a resource to go to. If they get pulled back into the streets, and where are you going to go? And so it's
Correct.
also the community behind this. So hopefully that this is, I know it's a real thing, but hopefully it's something that can sustain these individuals and they get
I mean,
the provision to move away, from
mm,
that environment and to take others
absolutely.
with them to create a better environment, a better community. So,
It's crazy.
inshallah.
It's
Hmm.
crazy because Allah guides who He wants to guide, right? So,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
none of the Sahaba back when they were in Mecca in Quraysh in the earlier days
Yep.
when the religion was growing, um, at the time the religion needed some strong guys, some strong personalities, right? And this is when the
Yep.
religion was still fresh. So
Hmm.
they needed some strong personalities because Quraysh was doing some bad things to the Prophet ﷺ, all these things. So the Prophet made dua, and he said,
Hmm.
Allah, whoever you bring, have them of this kind of caliber. And the crazy thing is, no one knew Allah's plans, and obviously no one knows Allah's plans. And
Right.
that person that Allah brought was who? Was Umar bin al-Khattab, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And Umar, and none of the Sahabas thought Umar was going to become Muslim, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a fact. That's a fact.
Nobody thought Umar was going to become Muslim,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And the story of Umar is so beautiful that, like, and that's
Mm.
why Umar is one of the most common names
Mhm.
as a Muslim. You always hear Umar, and whenever you hear
Yeah.
Umar, people associate the name Umar with the original Umar bin al-Khattab. And Umar
Mhm.
is such a strong name, such a strong personality, and it's such a beautiful story. So going back to Oblak, if Allah wants you to be guided, you'll be guided.
Mhm.
There's no doubt. And if Allah allows you to be lost, then you'll be lost. There's no doubt.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like there's no doubt.
Yeah.
What's meant to find you will find you regardless. And what's meant to not find you, no matter how hard you try, will never ever find you. So
Yes.
the religion and the truth is one of those things that if you have been chosen by Allah and you found it, then
Mhm.
you've won the lottery, basically. You know what I'm saying?
You can't run away from your truth, man. You can't run away
You
from your
can't.
destiny, right?
You can't, bro.
You can't run
You
away
can't.
from it, man.
So
So,
so
yeah.
if the West has been, if you notice, the West has been growing in Islam.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the
absolutely.
more the more people try to deny it, the more people say there's a reason why Islam is contagious, and the love for it is infectious, and you see it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
People, when they convert or when they revert, you can see that and I've been noticing on people's faces when you are born into something, no matter what it is. Like, for example, I'll give you another example, right?
Mhm.
People that are born into wealth are most likely to go broke than the first
Mhm.
entrepreneur who had to
Yeah.
work his butt off to get to that wealth.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's it's the same thing about the religion. If you are born into it, you don't really appreciate it. You don't
Mhm.
as much,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
unless you get older. But yes,
yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. You know, when I was Christian, I didn't really dive into it hard. You know, I mean, you know, shout out to my stepmother, you know, my mom and my stepdad, and you know, they were all like vehicles of being in the church and things like that. It's just a matter of me knowing where I needed to go, and I just wasn't going there with this vehicle of Christianity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But you know, it was just one of those things you have to, you know, think about and make a decision. And I made my
facts.
decision. I felt like I had the best discernment at that time. But yeah, I didn't really take it seriously. I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to do, coming to church on Sunday like I was new. You know, and
Facts.
it's not how it works. You know, and I
Uh,
remember in Islam, you know, I would see before I was a Muslim, I would see other Muslims, and I would just marvel at just how nice they were to others, and I would marvel at their discipline, especially the men. And I know that the Nation of Islam is not the Sunni Islam. It's not the traditional way that you know we all know, but that was also another vehicle that that branch led me to the tree. So
mm,
even though that branch was not necessarily the most authentic, right? But it had a place for Black Americans during the time when we didn't have a place in America, and it did raise a lot of
correct.
good people. But for me, what it did was more so like, okay, yeah, I know that, but I'm going to go take this a step further and really go to the source, like Malcolm did when he actually took his Hajj, and he actually
So,
saw what he needed to
mashallah.
see, you know, to transform
Yeah,
him, you know, before he was, you know, before he left the earth. And so that's what I did,
mashallah.
you know, and it was able to do all those things. So it's
Mashallah.
amazing. Shout out to O Block, shout out to Rip Right, shout out to all the leaders in O Block and to all the newly converted Muslims or reverted Muslims.
Mm.
We're here for you, man. Tap in with us. We would love to hear your story as well.
I mean.
I mean, we're going to move on. We have about